Welcome to podcast episode 70 of the Empowered by Design podcast. I am Dr. Liz, your host, and I am so excited to bring you a very special guest today. Steph Flies of the City Mom Collective is here with me today to discuss how we met, our overlapping passion in our work for empowering women, empowering moms, empowering people in general, and families too, in living well, living best lives, and experiencing fun, balance, and joy. I am going to read Steph's bio for you, and then we are going to get right into meeting Steph and having an exciting and fun chat. Welcome to the podcast, Empowered by Design. I'm your host, Dr. Liz, a licensed psychologist and owner of Visionistas by Design Wellness Boutique in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. This podcast is about the power of connection and a proactive approach to mental health and overall wellness. It's about finding and owning your power right now and using it for good, by nurturing the connection of body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit. Empowered by Design podcast delivers psychological concepts and practical strategies with a real-life approach, designed to empower health and wellness, optimal performance, authentic connection with yourself and others, and purposeful, joyful living. Be well. Live empowered. Dream, design, deliver. Steph Flies is the founder and director of City Mom Collective. Her focus has been growing the network after founding its original site, Scottsdale Moms Blog, in 2009. Now living in the greater Minneapolis area, Steph oversees the national network by spearheading growth strategies, sales initiatives, and shepherding and encouraging an ever-increasing number of moms managing individual, local parenting websites. She is married to Alan and is the mom of 3 girls, Nora, Elsie, and Audrey. Steph loves throwing a great party, connecting people, and cooking with a glass of red wine in hand. Ooh, that sounds amazing. Welcome, Steph. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast.
I am so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So we are going to talk about all the fun things that I mentioned. And I'm just going to get started by talking a little bit about how we connected. So Steph and I both attended the Mom 2.0 Summit in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago. And if you have listened to this podcast in the past couple of weeks, you have heard me talk about LA and how much fun it was, how much fun I had at the summit. And I promised you that I was going to be bringing some people on the podcast that I met there, connected with, and who are here to talk about their work, share their story, and empower you and inspire you, because they inspire me. And so Steph graciously agreed to be on the podcast. I'm so excited to have her. And if this is your first time tuning in to the Empowered by Design podcast, welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you have found me, that you are here. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. As you know, it wouldn't be here if you weren't listening to it. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming back week after week. And also thank you for sharing it, sending your energy back to me, and spreading the empowerment to people that you love and who can benefit from it. So Steph, I read your bio. I loved connecting with you at the Mom Summit. But I'm going to turn it over to you and just to let you tell us a little bit about who you are, the work that you do, and we'll chat.
Yeah. Well, because my work is largely about being a mom, I want to share a little bit about my family first, and then we can talk about the work that I do.
Sure.
But you kind of already spoke to this, but I have been married to my husband for 17 years. We have 3 girls. They are going to be a teenager, so almost 13, 10, and 9. And I love being a mom, but the reality is, I learned very quickly that motherhood can be so lonely.
Mm.
It's you're born into this sisterhood of moms. You have no idea what you're doing. And so it breeds just a lot of insecurity because you don't know what you're doing. Then you're also isolated in your home while your little infant naps more often than the average person does. And so I, like many other moms, was really desperate to find a new community, not because my community before becoming a mom was bad, but because I wanted to surround myself with like-minded women who were in a similar season. And so, as I often do, I love ideating around, anything personal or professional. I'm like, let's start something and see if it'll stick. And so I started Scottsdale Moms blog with a friend. I was living in the Scottsdale area because the two of us shared a heart for finding this community and gathering people and getting moms resources that were specific to the Scottsdale area. And at that time, blogging was brand new. I
Hmm.
distinctly remember a conversation with a friend when I was starting Scottsdale Moms blog, and she had said, "What's a blog?" Like, she had no idea what it was. I mean, keep in mind that was 2010. So it was
Right.
pretty early on in the start of what we now know as common vernacular, and a part of how so many people do business is using the web component of content marketing. And so we started Scottsdale Moms blog with this heart to connect Scottsdale area moms, and it quickly grew because it wasn't just the two of us that shared a need and a passion for meeting moms and gathering and finding resources that help us to make motherhood easier. We found that all these other moms were looking for something similar. And so as that business grew, our ideas started to grow of how we could get this resource and this concept out to the greater kind of mom community. And so that's when we started City Moms Blog Network. We have since rebranded our business to City Mom Collective, but the heart is and has always been the same: to
Oh,
connect moms to information and local parenting perspectives unique to their communities. And we are in 80 cities now,
oh my
and
gosh, that's
continuing
awesome.
to grow as the years progress. And so that's a pretty quick overview of my motherhood, where I stand, on a personal level in our home, but then also how that really has been the driving force to the work that I do.
I love it. I have so many questions. There's so many things in there that were spoke to my soul.
Yeah.
As you were talking, I think and I invite the listener to do the same. If you're a
Mhm.
mom, a parent, a friend of a mom, right, or of a parent, of a new parent, recognizing how the isolation is something that is so prominent
Mhm.
yet not talked about enough,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah,
maybe now it is more
sure.
so than years and generations past, but definitely that isolation. And I love that you also recognized I didn't start this because I did not have community and I
Mm.
didn't have people already in my life, but
Mhm.
there was some energy around this season and wanting to really connect with other women going through this very thing at the very same time,
Yeah.
right? Because it's so um, unique. It's such a
Mhm.
unique time of
Yeah.
life, and it can shift. They grow so fast that things shift so fast, and you can kind of lose yourself a bit.
Mhm.
And so,
Mhm.
just to be able to connect with other women going through, and not everything's the same, right? Of
No.
course,
Yeah.
each of our experiences is unique, but there's a lot of shared overlap
Mm-hmm.
in becoming a mom and becoming a new mom,
Mm-hmm.
and to have a system of support where you don't even have to explain.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain the fact that you just like, if people come over, you don't want to even entertain them. You just want them to like, here,
Yeah.
take the baby. I'm going to go take a nap, or I'm going to go
Yes.
take a shower because I can't do anything, even though this
Yeah.
thing is only this
Yeah.
little bundle. I can't
Yes.
do anything.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Motherhood really is such an interesting journey that honestly, I assume that if someone were to tell me the nuances of how difficult motherhood was going to be in those first, honestly, the first 6 to 12 months, they could have told me till they're blue in the face, like how difficult it was going to be, but you just don't know
Mm-mm,
until you're in it.
mm-mm.
And then you're in the middle of it and you're like, oh yeah, I think somebody talked about this, but it still feels real fresh, real raw, and real
Yes,
hard.
absolutely. Like sleep when the baby sleeps. Yeah, okay. I can't,
Yeah.
I was never able to get that trick down.
Yes.
My
Yeah.
first one didn't sleep that well. But I do, another thing that I remembered as you were talking, and not that I remembered it for the first time, but I share this often when I talk about that, just being a mom for the first
Mhm.
time. I literally was watching Friends, the show Friends.
Oh yeah.
I thank God had it on DVD when,
Yeah. Yeah.
before Netflix had
Yeah.
it. And now HBO Max. But I was on loop watching the whole 10 seasons,
Yeah.
just like holding the baby. I fed him too much, or what, I didn't know anything. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But that is one of the memories I have of just, just like, it was me,
Mhm.
Jackson, and friends.
Me, Jackson, and Chandler.
And Chan and Phoebe. Oh yeah.
Oh,
So,
I know it is crazy how some of those memories come up. You've likely seen the movie Inside Out, the Disney
uh-huh,
movie,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I always think of that scene where they have the mind miners that go into
Mm,
your like memory bank that you think like
yes.
that has been gone for a real long time, like the jingles for various things, and then they pull them up into your memory. But I feel like that is motherhood. When you're experiencing it, you think, I am never going to forget this because this is so hard, or it's so lovely. I mean, there's both
Right.
extremes.
Absolutely.
And somehow those memories kind of make their way into the minds
Yes. Yeah.
and then they come up
Yes. And
when
they
we need
pop
them
up.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you said lovely, right? Because I think some of what happened, I heard this just recently, that our minds kind of hold on to things that maybe were unpleasant, like Velcro, and the
Mm,
things that are lovely and pleasant kind of are more like Teflon.
yeah.
Teflon, our minds are like Teflon because that's, evolutionarily speaking, it was better to know when things were dangerous, right? So if we
Yes.
go all the way back. But you're right. There were, I mean, amazing, amazing moments about,
Mm.
of course, about becoming a mom, um, and that brings up memories too for
Yes,
me.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really a beautiful, bittersweet journey, right?
All the things,
Yeah, and you
all
hate
the
to
things.
call any part of motherhood bitter because it feels like wrong because you love these children so much, but there
Hmm.
are really hard parts.
There are.
And to your earlier point, I do think that the world we live in is one that we have access to a lot of information. And I think more so than ever before, our mental health and authenticity and all of these things are really prevalent, like are a message that people are finally speaking to so much more so or we just have access to the information
Hmm.
more than we do. So that is a really, really great thing. And that's part of the work that I get to do, is being able to share people's stories and say like, hey, how can we make motherhood more reflective of what it really is, but then also more beautiful than possibly what it could be, or make it more beautiful, into the future.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah, and
super
how can
exciting.
you tell us a little bit about what does that look like? How did you bring that idea, that heart energy that you talked about? How did you bring that into fruition, and what does that look like in your business?
Yeah. So I mentioned this a little earlier, but we have 80 sister websites across the country that are owned and operated by women in those cities. And then under each of our owner teams are writers that contribute content for their sites in each of these 80 markets. So we actually have over 2,000 writers that
Mm.
write for our sites. And they write everything from top 5 hidden parks in Milwaukee to visit this summer. So things that are super practical that moms are like, I need that, to 3 breastfeeding mistakes that I made this year. you know so I mean, we have got a full spectrum, because that really is what motherhood is. There
Yes.
is never like one season that is we're just coasting. I mean, it is a roller coaster ride. Even if you hate roller coasters,
And
you
there's always a
are on
new
it.
topic to cover.
Yes.
Always
Yeah.
something we're like, what? Nobody told us about this.
Yes, yeah, for
That's
sure.
great. That's
So yeah, so
amazing.
the content that is published on our websites is for local area moms, even if the topics are universal, and it doesn't matter where you live. For the most part, our writers are really wanting to encourage moms in their cities with their content. So, and by content, I mean primarily their blog content, but also using their social media platforms to be an encouragement for moms as well, because we realize not all moms are coming to the same platforms for
Mm.
encouragement and for support. So really trying to utilize as many different areas. Many of our sites have podcasts as well. And so really saying like, hey, what are moms looking for when it comes to encouragement for their lives? And we want to do whatever is within our power to provide that information for them.
Wow, that is amazing. So, because I want to, one of the things I really want to make sure we make time for, and we'll do it right now, and we'll do it
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
is tell us, and we'll put these in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
where we can find all of this amazing content that you're talking about. How do we find you?
Yeah. So if you go to momcollective.com, that is our national website that showcases our sister site content and some national content as well. You can click on our sister sites. There's a tab that's going to show you the map of the US and all of these 80 markets that we currently have sites in. And so the best thing that you can do if you're listening and you don't follow one of our current sister websites is to go to the map, see if your site is on there. And if so, then click on the sister website that we have in your community and start to engage, read their content, follow their social media accounts. I promise it is a worthwhile follow. It is
Yeah.
worthwhile to have notifications on for those things, because it really is all pertinent, helpful resources for moms in those communities. Now, 80 may seem like a lot of cities, and it certainly is, but you are going to find that there are some states, we actually are we're in 36 states out of the
Yay.
50.
That's awesome.
But we have some states that don't have a representation in City Mom Collective. And so if you're listening and you find that there is no sister site in your city, then I would love it if you do one of two things. Either maybe you're listening and you're like, I love this idea. I'm totally tracking. I love entrepreneurship. I love my local community. I would very much love to hear from you. We have a business interest form that you would fill out if you're interested in possibly starting the business for your city. The second option then is if you're like, you know what, I love this idea. Not really for me for a variety of reasons, but I know a mom that would be an excellent person to own one of these businesses, then send her the information and we'd certainly welcome that opportunity to talk to her too. So
I love that. And I'm going to just repeat it because I checked your website and
Yeah,
in my area, so if you are
yeah,
local to me in the
yep,
Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania,
yeah,
there is not a mom collective in this city or
yeah,
even nearby. I think the closest was maybe in Pittsburgh.
yeah,
So reach out,
yeah,
fill out the business interest form
yep,
at momcollective.com
yes.
and you'll get right in touch with
It
the
comes straight to me.
right to
So
Steph. Woo!
yes.
Yes,
So I
awesome.
will respond back to you. And we do have an application and interview process that our license holders go through. I think it's important to note that I think both are equally important, but we're looking for entrepreneurial minded moms and then moms that are really passionate about their local communities. And another clarification is that we do have a lot of our major metro areas in the states covered, but we also do small metro markets. So, like
Hmm.
Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Mankato. I mean, we have smaller areas covered. And actually, in some ways, those smaller cities are they're really prime markets to be able to do a resource like this. We also sometimes will cover areas of the country where maybe there's not one specific city that is predominant, but say, I'm trying to think of an example, but we formerly had a Northwest Arkansas site. And those, it
Hmm.
kind of covered the Northwest Arkansas area. So
Okay.
just
So
some
city
clarification.
or yeah,
Yeah.
region.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
love that. So if you are a mom or someone listening, then
Yeah.
and you think I could do this. This is something I could feel passionate about. I
Yeah.
have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
I love to take my ideas and connect people, connect with others who share in this mission and passion of connecting
Hmm.
with meaningful relationship to help and spread awareness and just help
Hmm.
each other out because all
Yeah.
too often I feel like um, not only can motherhood and new motherhood feel isolating,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we over compare, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're like, we look at social media and we see this mom doing that or this family doing this
Hmm.
and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible, I'm a terrible mother, I can't
Hmm.
do it, I'm right, like, so
Yeah.
there's that aspect as well. And so
Hmm.
um what we love about this about your business and this
Hmm.
amazing collective
Yeah.
is that it's very much an empowering one
Hmm.
where you're
Yeah.
not going to feel judged. The
Hmm.
idea is to feel supported and connected and
Hmm.
empowered.
Yeah, for sure. No, we are all about serving all moms in our network. And so, really wanting to showcase different voices because, the reality is our writers are not all like coming to their keyboards with the exact same motherhood experience or life
Hmm.
experience. And so, really saying, like, how many different perspectives can we pull into our communities so that truthfully our content can be as attractive to all moms in the community as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And also you mentioned mental health, which of course
Yeah.
is my my platform, I guess you would call
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
and that you connected with me too
Yeah.
after we got back from the Mom Summit
Yeah.
about contributing to one of your
Yeah.
articles
Yeah.
specifically around Mental Health
Yeah.
Awareness Month, which
Yeah.
again, if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, I'm a psychologist, and
Mm-hmm.
so my work is very much based in helping people feel well
Mm-hmm.
mentally, but also recognizing the overlap of our bodies, our minds,
Mm-hmm.
our hearts, our souls, and our spirits, and how,
Yeah.
whew, that's all. As I say it, it's like there's so much complexity there and so much overlap that sometimes we can feel out of balance. And
Mm-hmm.
the work that I try to do in all that I do is to helping just bring awareness, bring strategies, bring tools
Mm-hmm.
to help us feel more balanced and joyful, and
Mm-hmm.
really, really recognizing that the more connected we feel. And you said authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
authentically being able just to show up as who we are, like if
Mm-hmm.
that's in sweatpants or if that's in heels and a cocktail dress, just being
Mm-hmm.
able to show up however you are and
Mm-hmm.
be welcomed, accepted, embraced. And
Mm-hmm.
so I
Yeah.
love that you also focus and attend to health and wellness
Mm-hmm.
from all of those angles.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, mental health is such a important kind of thing for all of us that have any level of platform to be able to speak to. And so I so appreciated you being willing to contribute. We have a post with Dr. Liz on it. That's 4 expert tips for mom's mental health. You can check that out on momcollective.com. We also have an interview with Dr. Mittenall on children and anxiety. So if you have a child that is struggling with anxiety, what symptoms are you looking for? What can you do on a practical basis to support them? We also just published a post that is protecting your kids' mental health in competitive sports.
Ooh.
So that's a huge part, and that is, we're opening up Pandora's box just to
Seriously,
that,
you
but
opened it up in my heart for sure.
yes, yeah, there are just so many facets of mental health when it comes to motherhood. It's not just your own mental health, it's also
Hmm.
that you are supporting and encouraging these little kids that are little and big kids that are on their own journey of mental health. And so we want to, as City Mom Collective and our sister websites, really be able to provide practical encouragement and support for the main areas that we are needing that as moms.
I love that. Yeah, I absolutely. The competitive sports thing came when you said that. I was like, yes, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Because can absolutely resonate with that coming from a family, my personal family of 3 brothers, younger
Mm-hmm.
than me, but and my parents we were all very engaged in sports
Mm-hmm.
and competitive sports throughout our whole lives, and we love it. We
Mm-hmm.
everything was a competition. It was like
Yeah.
whoever can run to the car fastest. My mom
Yeah.
made everything a game, and my dad, and we love it to this day. When we're at a
Sure.
party, there's always some kind of event, can
Mm-hmm.
jam or cornhole, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then I married someone from equally as competitive a
Uh,
family,
yeah. Yeah.
and recognizing how we have modeled it without really even, I mean,
Mm,
obviously because we love it, but we've modeled this kind of go lifestyle. We
mm-hmm.
definitely, my husband and I spend a lot of intentional time and energy into inserting in breaks. And
Mm,
the way that we do that is that we typically have to leave town. Right? Because if we're in town,
yeah.
there's some kind of event we could be
Yeah.
attending to,
Yeah.
that's mostly for our kids or for us. But so that is one thing that we try to do. And I think as families, we have to really reflect on what are our values? What are our
Mm-hmm.
shared values as a
Mm-hmm.
couple, as a family? How do we build on those to make sure we're balanced?
Mm,
So my son, who's almost 14, has basically was born with a baseball bat in his hand. He's
sure.
just lives and
Yeah.
breathes it. And I've started to recognize, like, oh, wait, he's playing on how many teams? Like really
Mm,
just kind of feeling like, where's there's a fine line between
mm,
for the love of the game and feeling like, okay, is it too
mm.
much? Is it
Yeah.
overcommitted? Is there that danger of burnout, which we
Yeah.
can see as adults with work, right? Like we
Yeah.
think of, okay,
For
oh, we're
sure.
getting burnt out with work,
Yeah.
but it absolutely can
Mm-hmm.
surface for children, big and
Mm-hmm.
small, when we're overcommitting them or when
Mm-hmm.
they love it, but then it's like, okay, really being able to step back and see
Mm-hmm.
what the effect is on their mental health and overall
Yeah.
health and wellness.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I feel like I need to give credit where credit is due in that I did not write this post on mental health in competitive sports. It was one of our content creators, Elizabeth. And yeah, she spoke to in the blog post that is on momcollective.com. You'd be able to get it pretty easily going there. But she spoke about many of the things that you just mentioned, like burnout,
Mm-hmm.
team culture, how that
Mm-hmm.
plays
Mm.
effect
Yeah.
into the mental health of our kiddos, the time and financial commitment that is just a reality when you are getting into competitive sports. And then also, I think a really important thing is, you know, not I. There's so much identity that our kids can find
Mm.
in these activities, and not just our kids, us too,
I
as
know.
parents.
I know. I'm like,
Right.
I know, pointing to myself.
Right. Yes. And
Yeah.
so I think, she is in no way coming at this post with a like, shame on you if this is your experience. It's more just step back before you get so far in that you can't step back and say, these are the things that our family, we need to be aware of, are a huge contributor to our child's mental health when it comes to competitive sports.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm pointing at myself because here's me as hashtag baseball mom. Also me like, oh my God, another tournament, like, so, and I must mention my daughter. She does
Yes.
soccer.
Yeah.
She's really good at though setting boundaries,
Mhm.
even sometimes better than me. Like,
Yeah.
she loves soccer and she's done some other things in her life, like dance, and she's done gymnastics, but as she didn't really feel the passion anymore, she's
Mhm.
been like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like my husband and I are like, wait a second, what do you mean you don't want to participate in like three different sports every season, And
Yeah.
she's just like, I'm good. Thanks. I
Yeah.
like soccer. I'll be good at,
Yeah.
and I like reading. And we're like, okay, yay, do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely your that identity piece of the parents, it's very, we've all seen the
Mhm.
videos on YouTube of the over-identified parents,
Sure.
but and I love that you also mentioned that these articles and blog posts, again, aren't coming from a place of shame on you, right?
Mhm.
Because I think we do that enough,
Right.
right? We
Right.
do the guilt thing and the mom guilt and all that enough, that really the idea
Mhm.
behind perspective and content creation and content delivery is
Mhm.
really to help us just
Mhm.
think about things in a different way and say,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. What a
Mhm.
great perspective. Let me think about that more and see how it
Sure.
may help me
Sure.
in my life. Love
Yeah,
it.
sure. And I think oftentimes people are just, and maybe not so much this specific blog post, but people online are sharing their own perspective on it. And so I think, oftentimes if the reader is responding and feeling a level of shame or responding in a negative way of any sort, it's just stepping back and saying, like, that is that person's
Mm,
experience, that
hmm.
is that person's perspective. It actually does not, like, it should not control me. It does not have power over me. Like, I am going to make the best decision for myself and for our family. And that's okay. Like, we all
Yeah,
do things so differently. Just
right.
like your daughter who is young and able to say, I don't really want to do that. That's actually a really mature thing
Oh,
to
I
be able
love it
to
about her.
do. That, like, I feel like any adult friend that can say, I think that's not me. I'm not going to do that. We'd all applaud him, but for our
Mhm.
kids, we're like, really?
Are you
We're like
sure?
shocked.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that is too funny. Well,
Yeah.
yes, it is a privilege and extremely overwhelming at times to raise these kids.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, I was wondering, as I'm thinking about the different sister sites that you were talking about, are there in person or like other, do they connect? And you said, I love to throw a good party. Is that
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
um, part of it too, like where they will gather and have events and things like that?
Yes, so pre-2020, we definitely did have a lot of events that our sites were planning for parents, for moms, for families in their communities, and that continues to be a huge part of what our sister businesses are doing. It looks a little different. We did definitely take a little bit of a pivot over the past 2 years, but yeah, gathering people on like in person is a huge heart of mine, and very much is reflected in a lot of the work that our sister sites are doing in their communities. So planning things like mom's night outs,
Mm.
and family events that people can come and bring their full families to, like Donuts with Santa or Easter egg hunts, or summer family events that are full weekend events that people can purchase tickets to. So that is part of this marriage between supporting local
Mhm.
moms, but then also these are businesses, and so our site owners are running these in some cases full-time hours that they're committed to building these businesses, and so that's part of also their revenue possibility, is planning these events that moms are looking to go to.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say I'm reaching out to people, especially, where everybody can hear this across the globe. But again,
Yeah.
if you are in this area locally, and this is at all inspiring to you, even come, reach out to me if you're not so
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
because as I'm saying it, I'm like, I'm overcommitted. This sounds so fun to me. So I'm saying, if there's a mom or a woman out there or
Yeah.
someone out there who this is interested, who is intrigued by this, and you're local to me, reach out. I would
Yeah.
love to chat more about this, because
Yeah.
that is one of my that we how we connected, right? So we
Yeah.
connected at Mom Summit. That is what I loved about that space, was people
Mhm.
came for there were so many different things um, to be energized by at Mom
Mhm.
Summit. For me, the connections were amazing, and you and I vibed
Mhm.
right away and
Mhm.
had so much fun, and which is why we're still connected, right? Why
Yeah.
we decided, okay, we need to make sure we swap cards.
Sure.
But that, yeah, so just that connection, that is something that both of us share. I love
Mhm.
um, bringing people together and holding space for people to connect and relate with each other. I also love to hold a glass of red wine, not so much while I'm cooking. I'm not the biggest like kitchen connoisseur, but I'll watch someone else
Yeah.
cook. I'll help cut
Uh,
vegetables. But yeah, so that is one thing I think too, that we both share, that passion for creating the space for connection. And so I'm
yeah.
putting back out that call
Yeah.
to action of,
Yeah.
if you're interested and you're not quite sure, you want to fill out the application and you're in my area,
Yeah.
reach out to me as well. I would love to chat more about it. It's so fun and so needed, and I love also every stage of the game. So we talked a lot about new moms,
Mhm.
um, kind of where it came from for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But also it's very clearly evident that it extends, as they grow and as
Sure.
they get to different ages and stages,
Yeah.
that it's not just about, when you have an infant,
Mhm.
but it's about as they grow, and also the family, really,
Yeah.
really attending to the needs of the family.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I'll give one further clarifier in that
Yes.
some of our sites are owned by multiple moms in the
Mm.
city. So
Hmm.
we have upwards of 3 site owners for one site. And so sometimes a mom will look at the opportunity and say, oh gosh, I love that, but I just don't have this skill set. But I know somebody that does, and
Mm.
maybe we would be great business partners. And so I think there's a lot of great things that come out of partnerships with these businesses. Now, also, the reality is being in partnership with someone else comes with its difficulties at times. However, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But I do like to throw that out there that, hey, if you are like, I am really intrigued, but I can't do this by myself, maybe you know somebody that could.
Yes, I have a few people popping up in my mind for me. But yeah, no, I love that. Yes. And partnerships, yeah, they are just like any partnership. We think of romantic partnerships as
Yeah.
one of the most common, and we
Hmm.
do it, we enter into those partnerships, agreements, commitments, because it
Hmm.
is so amazingly beautiful.
Mhm.
And then we also recognize that there's
Mhm.
navigating the relationship as well can
Yeah.
be, um, it's a very important consideration. So,
Yes, it can be, there
yeah,
are challenges, but,
sure.
I really believe in like not giving things through the rose colored glasses, not because I don't love hearing things through a rose colored glass, but because life is all about your expectations being as close to your reality as possible,
Mm,
right? So anytime that your expectations don't meet your reality is when you get frustrated. And so you have two options. You either change your reality or you change your expectations. And usually changing your expectations is the easiest thing to do. Changing reality isn't always always as
right.
easy, but
Absolutely.
that's where, when it comes, even in any interview that I do with a potential site owner, I always am like, here's the deal. I'm going to try to be really brutally honest with you, not because I don't want you to be a part of the work we're doing, because I think it's exceptional and I love it, but also I don't want you to feel like I wasn't honest with you, that owning a business is hard at times, and navigating complex relationships and leading communities in tumultuous times. I mean, there are so many things that are just real challenging about business ownership, but there's so many wonderful parts about it too. And so it's, again, like, how can I make sure your reality and expectations are as close as possible together?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, I love that. I love that so much. So you have this the you and your part of the business offers the support and the structure and the honesty,
Yeah,
and also just kind of that. Oh, I was going to say lifeline. I think because when you said, uncertainty and challenge, I think our
sure.
minds go to pandemic just
Oh,
like
sure. Yeah.
automatically,
Yeah.
of how
Yeah.
challenging when you're talking about shifting either your reality or expectations is,
Hmm.
oh, wow, right? We were really challenged. And not that
Hmm.
we're talking about it like
Yeah.
it's over. And unfortunately, we're seeing that it's not
Right.
completely over, but
Right.
it's changing and shifting. But
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, even just being a part of the mom
Hmm.
collective gives you a sense of community and
Hmm.
support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because I use that reality expectations example often in business ownership. Truthfully, I don't know if I've ever stepped back to consider what that practically looked like in 2020.
Mm,
And if you imagine, our realities changed very fast in a
yes,
very quick amount of time.
absolutely.
And it changed, and then it changed again, and it changed again. And so there was almost no way for us to change our expectation to meet what how the reality was changing, because it was changing so different. And so, I mean, it was so unlike anything that we went through, that no wonder why all of us were like, ah! I
And
mean,
still are. Ah!
right.
We're still experiencing it.
It's
Yeah.
just like a moving target, and you're constantly like, wow,
Yeah.
this is such a mess, but I am really trying my best here to,
Yeah.
and so interesting that you say that. I've never put that analogy in place over this sustained pandemic world that we've been living in, but it really does fit quite
Yes.
nicely with it too.
Yes. And that is one thing that I think is, I love when we have those little glimpses of, I call them golden nuggets of like, wow, I never thought of it that way.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest goals for me, mission in this podcast, is helping
Hmm.
us to do that work of really being able to minimize stress that's avoidable, right? Like
Hmm.
being
Yeah.
able to say, what reality can I change
Yeah.
that's not
Sure.
working for me, that's
Sure.
making me sick or
Yep.
making me tired? And then recognizing that there's always going to be stress that cannot be avoided,
Yeah.
uncertainty.
Sure.
Life's going to continue to
Hmm.
throw us curveballs. And then at right now is the
Hmm.
time to build the skill set or
Mm.
strengthen the skill set to be able to, um, eh, manage stress that happens because of change or that
Hmm.
happens because of those unexpected circumstances,
Hmm.
rather than waiting for something to, go wrong before attending to
Hmm.
it taking more of a proactive approach. And that
Mhm.
is, I think that really fits
Yeah.
with what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree. So,
Yay.
oh, weird world that we've been living in and navigating.
Hmm. I would love to just ask one question. What would, as we're talking about the pandemic and those perspectives, um, a lot of people have said, it was awful and it was terrible and I was so stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we kind of get that out, people tend to kind of say, and you know what? This happened
Hmm.
that like really shifted my perspective, or this was an unexpected silver lining that came.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm just curious if you would be willing to share if that was something that you experienced and what that was like for you.
Yeah. I feel like you hate to call it silver lining in an incredibly difficult time, especially for so many people from a health level. But for lack of a better way to describe it, and that's how you set it up there, I think there's silver lining both on a personal level and professional level. And I think more than ever before on a personal level, I really considered, I was like, gosh, this, even if it's painful and it's so hard, this is bonus time with my young kids that I never would have gotten had we not walked through the past couple of years. And I feel like I've carried that over into, even my littlest one woke up with a tummy ache the other day, and now flu's going around our school, like the tummy flu.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can't be that person that sent, like, she didn't have any symptoms other than
Right.
pain or so honestly, she's so young that you're like, you just might be nervous about something. Like, I don't even know. But I feel like after walking through the past 2 years, I said, like, you know what? Like, okay, like, you can stay home.
Stay home.
It'll be okay.
Yep.
Like, and
Rest.
you're right. And you're going to be totally fine. I'm going to be fine. I'm actually going to be able to work just fine, even with you here, because I
Hmm.
have had to do that.
Learned
And
that skill set.
yes, and I consider it bonus time. Like, these extra bonus days of you being around are not guaranteed. And so I am going to eat them up as much as I possibly can. So I'd say that was one of the silver linings. There is multiple silver linings, but
I love that.
that on a personal level. And then on a professional level, for anyone that knows the Enneagram, I'm a very flaming strong 2. I like love to help people. What that means, if anyone doesn't know the Enneagram, is that I just get a lot of self identity, sometimes in a negative way. Sometimes it can go in like, that's all I find identity in, but largely positive in helping people. Like, how can I be helpful to you? And when in March of 2020, when the pandemic hit, my 2 flag just started
Mm.
waving. I was like, I do not know what is
Here I
happening,
come. Let me
and I'm
help.
freaked out, but I am going to help the
Yeah.
world. And I think there's so many things that we did in our business that were just propelled by this desire for me to
Mm.
help, that have transformed the way that we support our network in a really positive way. And I don't know if we would have ever done that if we weren't like just forced to really kick it in high gear and find substantive ways to support our business in unique ways that we weren't at that time doing. And so, yeah, I'd say that that's a silver line. There's a lot of really lovely things that came out of having to lean into the hard and
Mm.
lead in a really hard season. But I would say I look back and I'm like, that's why I was exhausted,
Mm.
but I also was like, save the day, help the people.
I
Like,
love that.
and so I
Yeah.
was tired every day, but I was like, I feel like I just helped a lot of people. That was
Yes.
great.
That is so great.
And so, yeah, that I don't think I've ever verbalized that. So this is the first time it's come out of my word.
I'm so glad. Yeah, and as we're on video so we can see each other. I got
Yeah.
completely emotional when you talked about
Oh,
your personal silver
yeah.
lining because I think absolutely I can identify with that, right?
Hmm.
Like just recognizing not only myself but my husband. One day we were actually driving, probably the first time we were actually going somewhere during pandemic because we're like, we got to get out of this
Yeah.
house, like
Yeah.
let's go somewhere. And he made the comment of I've just been appreciating our family time so
Hmm.
much. And, to hear him say that was just like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Um, and
Hmm.
I'm so glad that we talked about it out loud because, and I will challenge and invite the listeners, all of you who are listening, at very minimum, spend some time reflecting on
Hmm.
pulling out one thing that
Hmm.
you can also identify
Hmm.
that I think and I love that you were so open and honest and authentic in how you were sharing it. You were even like, I don't want to call anything a silver lining because I'm afraid, or not afraid, but like there
Right.
was so much destruction and
Yeah.
so
You don't
much
want to
sadness.
minimize the pain.
Don't,
Yeah.
right. And we
Right.
don't, so sometimes we avoid joy and we
Mm-hmm.
avoid identifying those very moving, lovely moments that are emotionally uplifting
Mm-hmm.
because we kind of get stuck in that, like feeling guilty or not wanting to minimize the pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really just recognizing that that is a really huge piece of our resilience as human beings, is being
Mm-hmm.
able to say, yeah, this was a hard and still is a
Mm-hmm.
challenging time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and there's also some things that have come from it that never would
Mm-hmm.
have, or brought
Mm-hmm.
us at least some peace and joy in those
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah. And think of the resilience that our kids developed. They were
Mm-hmm.
like in the pressure cooker of life. Their reality changed just like ours did. And we may have thought like, oh, they have it easy. At least they're not having to stress about these things. But I think, a lot of them are carrying anxiety about it. But they're also so much more nimble and so much more resilient than a
Yes.
lot of us are because they've walked through the past 2 years. Not that they chose to do that, but because life dealt them some significant curveballs where their reality changed very quickly, you think, gosh, they are so much more flexible probably than I ever was at that age.
Yes.
And my kids were in elementary school and are in elementary school. I think those possibly were the most challenging like ages to have in a pandemic because two of my kids couldn't read anything.
Mm.
One of them could,
Mm.
but I kind of was like, gosh, I would have loved if they were just in preschool at this time. Then you didn't have to deal with any of that.
Right.
I'm like, I never thought I would say that. I thought for sure when I got out of that season, I was like, done,
Right.
never gonna go back. But anyway, it is funny, this life journey we live. It never
Yeah.
turns out exactly how we plan, but
No.
that's where the resiliency and the flexibility that our kids, I think, really have developed is a skill that will likely be a really wonderful skill for them as their own little entrepreneurs and their own young adults, because
Yes.
they're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember those 2 years. That was
Right.
weird, but now I can be real flexible about
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Right. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
And model it for us.
yes. And then model it for us.
Oh,
Oh,
well, thank you so, so much. I've had a blast in this
yes, me
in
too.
this chat, and I thank you so much again for taking time out of your schedule to join me here. Thank you for listening, for all of you who are listening. I'm gonna have you share again, Steph, where we can find you on the web and social media. I invite you who are listening to share this episode with
Yeah.
someone that may just need to hear it, right? May need
Mm,
to hear it, and also again that invitation to pause and
mhm.
reflect on your own experiences from anything that you heard us talking about
Yes.
today. Reach out to either one of us. Any questions or comments that you have, intrigue. If you're intrigued, reach out and let's chat about it. You can find me at Dr. Liz on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok. I'm in the middle of my own TikTok challenge to help spread mental health awareness and some fun. That's DRLYZ, and that's my website as well, drliz.com. Steph, tell us where we can find you so that people can connect with you, learn more about this amazing company and movement that you have started.
Yeah, well, the best place to do that is to go to momcollective.com. That is where you are going to find our sister site map that will show you if we have an existing sister site in your city. You can click on the states, the cities that are represented, and that will direct you to your city's website and their social media accounts. So engage, comment on things like, for those of you that are not in this industry and you don't know how all of that works, I tell you what, anytime that you push like, or you get your thumbs a little tapping on a comment on anything that we're doing, it makes more people see the work that we're doing, and it is so important and so appreciated. So go check out your local sister site if you have one. If you don't, I would welcome you to consider starting a sister site with City Mom Collective yourself, or sharing the opportunity with someone that you think would be a good fit. And we've got an application on our website for you to be able to submit a business interest form. We're also on all social media platforms, City Mom Collective. So give us a follow there. Again, that's the national licensing umbrella of our 80 local sister websites.
Yay. Thank you. And I love that you said engage with us on social media or wherever you're finding us, because I think sometimes we don't know how to support our friends who are doing amazing things. And we think, oh, how can do I have to go to your event? Do I have to sign up? And hitting the like button, sending a little comment, even if it's an emoji, helps to spread the awareness to maybe it's not something you can do, or you're not in that season, or it's not for you right now. But it helps to get it out to the people who can and want to. So
I always tell people that when you tap on the like or love heart button, it is like a virtual high five. Just imagine yourself going like this to all these people in the world. You are just given high fives like that. And you know what? That doesn't take anything away from you when you do that. It only empowers the people that you are sending that high five to. So please give high fives to the work that people are doing, and personal accounts too. I think we all need a little bit more encouragement.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Friends, businesses, wherever, share your love, share those high fives. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much again, Steph. I know I will see you again. I loved connecting with you and can't wait to connect with you again. And for all of you listening, thank you, thank you, thank you. Without you, we would not be here. And I cannot wait to connect with you again. Take care. Thank you for connecting on this episode of the podcast, Empowered by Design. For further connection, subscribe to my email list at drliz.com to be sure that you are in the loop for exciting news, events, and resources. You can also follow me on social media at Dr. Liz and at Visionistas by Design. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast and send this episode to one of your people in order to share the love, spread the power. This podcast is designed to inspire, educate, and empower you to pursue your dreams with intentional vision. This podcast is not meant to be a substitute for psychological treatment or a working relationship with a licensed mental health professional. For more information on connecting with mental health resources in your area, visit drliz.com and click on resources. Thank you again for connecting, and remember, trust the heart, work your vision, dream, design, deliver.